And I'm having conversations with primarily Democratic legislators. We're talking about both of these issues. And so some of the Democratic legislators speak up and they say, well, Key, they say things to this effect, almost exactly what I'm getting ready to tell you. They say, well, Key, things are getting so bad that we think it's probably going to take an armed revolution for people, before we turn it around. Blah, 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 blah. Well, that really got my attention, just like when I ran for office again in 2006, when I went door to door and heard so many people in my district saying similar kinds of things about that indicated their level of knowledge, their level of understanding of how far we've gone down the road, and who's telling the truth, who's lying about things in our country from the media and the government. There's a broader understanding, a deeper understanding from the people about who's on their side and who's not. And that was a very, very telling comment and comments that I heard back then. This was coming from Democrats.
Yeah, let me add, because this is so important. Notice that was because Bush was the big bad devil. They could see, but Bush was just a puppet, the globalist agenda, the FEMA camps, the martial law. Democrats were worried then at the low level. Now that Obama's in, they're embracing it, and the whole system, let's say Bush built the rocket, put it on the launch pad, Obama just climbed in it and blasted off, and now they're suddenly hailing the police state because they think they're in control of it.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I do agree, but at the same time, I'm seeing members of the Democratic and Republican parties, and we've got a long ways to go, believe me. I understand that. But I'm seeing them starting to understand that, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Not much difference. And so we got to figure out a way to start bringing people to a point, elected and non-elected, to the point where they will stand in opposition to all of these types of proposals and policies, no matter who it is that's proposing them. And there's battle lines being drawn and fought right here in Oklahoma, and I hope in other states at the state level, within the different caucuses of the two different parties.
So you're giving us the good news that you're saying that really, Republicans and Democrats now, your colleagues, they're starting to really understand that this is an alien government.
Yeah, they are. But again, I recognize and admit we've still got a long ways to go because our enemies have learned how to use the systems and the processes against us so well. And you've got so many people within the system, elected and non-elected, within the political systems, that they're there to look out for number one, and they don't have the courage to stand up and fight it. So they're like the willing dupes.
Stay there, sir. I want to come back and talk about how we help you expand the legislation you've already passed and get that Real ID fully killed. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. Charles Key, representative in Oklahoma, spearheaded with General Benton Parton and others exposing the bombs in the buildings, the police eyewitnesses and others, the federal forces brutally tortured to death and murdered. Like Cop of the Year, Terrence Yankee, when they tried to expose it. See, he's gone through that journey of putting his own personal fears aside and other things. And that's what it comes down to, all these politicians who want money and power and wearing their fancy suits and getting lobbyist money and going up the chain of command. We don't have any future. Your children and grandchildren don't have any future unless you face the facts and commit to expose this new world order, this global foreign banking takeover. It's a corporate takeover, period. And it's a hellish world they're building. And I'm telling everybody out there who serve the system, bureaucrats, police, private citizens, you better get involved in this fight right now. Because this is the fight of your life. This is the greatest threat this nation's ever faced. And that's what our founders said over and over again. This nation could not fall from without, it could only fall from within. Charles Key.
Well, you ask what could people do, and this is what I'd like to ask people to do, Alex. First of all, if you're from Oklahoma, and if I could precede this by telling a quick story on Real ID again. When we were fighting the Real ID battle last year, and we had the Department of Public Safety battling against us, lobbying against us, we had Kevin Ward, the head of the department, and his number two man there, Rusty Rhodes is his name, fighting against us. We're in one of the many meetings we had with them, Senator Brogdon and myself, and in one of those meetings, Senator Brogdon started off this meeting by saying, well, Representative Key and I, we think the biggest problem with the Real ID Act is the violation of the Constitution and our constitutional rights, et cetera, but other people, are concerned about the cost of it and ID theft and stuff like that. And after he said that, then Kevin Ward, the head of DPS, speaks up and he goes, well, we've got a difference of opinion on the Fourth Amendment. Brogdon had made some comments about the Fourth Amendment. He says, we've got a difference of opinion in the Fourth Amendment, blah, 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 made some comments about it. And it was like sticking me with a hot poker or something, and I just kind of popped up and I said, Commissioner Ward, I can't believe you just said that. The Fourth Amendment is real simple. It's very plain. What disagreement do we have? And then we get into this more energetic discussion, I would say, about the Constitution, which was similar to every meeting we had. That, I think, if it highlights anything, it highlights the problem we have with law enforcement. It's not that we are against law enforcement or we've got a problem with all of law enforcement, but some in law enforcement, they think they are the good guys and they should have the right to just make decisions. And that's a problem. So for people in Oklahoma, I would like them to call and email Kevin Ward at the Department of Public Safety and tell him to get off his program of trying to fight for the Federal Real ID Act in Oklahoma and let legislators do the legislating and him quit trying to make public policy in Oklahoma. I wish they would do that. And if people are afraid that somebody's going to come after them in Oklahoma law enforcement, please don't let that stop you from doing what is desperately needed. And if you have a problem like that, call my office. But please call Kevin Ward's office and call your state representative and your state senator.
Well, how they sell this is they've got to stop the illegal aliens. But in the amnesty bills they've introduced, they're all given waivers and legalized. This Real ID Act is under international treaty, really a global ID, not just a national ID. And they're going to nexus it into everything. Couldn't say that word. In their own documents. So it's about control and federalization. It has nothing to do with security. And it's federal IDs and their databases that continue to cause most of the identity theft that's come out time and time again. Representative Charles Key, let's come back and talk more about the good news, though, that more and more states are moving for sovereignty. State Representative Charles Key is our guest. Oklahoma has passed legislation saying that they are a sovereign state, not under federal or international control, that they're not going to allow gun confiscations or a, quote, New World Order system to be brought into play. Upwards of 10 states have now introduced or are passing similar legislation. We always try to be nice and go, we don't have a problem with law enforcement, peace officers, but we just want you to stop trying to make policy and cram things down our throats. Look, state police, local police, they've been bought off by the feds. That's on record, most of them. Some are good. But Representative Charles Key, the state police in Oklahoma, I've interviewed police officers and detectives that worked on Oklahoma City case, the bombing. They helped cover it up with the feds. So I think we need to get past the point and, I have these articles every day. San Antonio Express News, property seizures seen as piracy. And it says all over the state of Texas, they pull over old ladies and take $4,000 out of their purse, or they get checkpoints and take everybody's watches. And it's just all right here. Senator Juan Hinojosa believes some law enforcement agencies in the cash-strapped district of Rio Grande Valley have become so dependent on profitable seizures they routinely misapply the state civil forfeiture law. They have other state reps here talking about enough is enough. This is highway robbery. The police are out of control. 9 times out of 10 worldwide, police become the agents of oppression for the corrupt state and rob people. And that's just what America's turning into.
I'm tired of having to, qualify what we say about law enforcement or other, entities like that. But when you're in a political position like this, you know that somebody's going to take comments I make from a program like this and come back and use it against me. So, it's good to qualify that. But anyway, let's get to the next subject. And I said I had 2 things I'd like to suggest what people do. The second one is I wouldn't say forget the federal government or the federal legislators, but put them on a back burner and put your efforts behind your state House and Senate members, and especially in these states where they've got these 10th Amendment type resolutions or other states, and get behind them. We have some legislators in Texas that are interested in this, but I can tell they're kind of fearful about bringing it up. So they need to hear from the people in Texas and the other states. And there's legislators that want to address this problem. They want to do something about it, but unfortunately, they need some people to get behind them and help them. And we need to put our efforts at the state level, because the states are going to fix this. The feds are not going to. They've already caved.
Well, you talked about how you talk to your constituents and they're ready for revolution. The establishment knows that. That's why they're announcing 20,000 Homeland Security battle-hardened Army troops to, quote, engage the American people. That's high treason right there.
Well, it's real hard to, if it comes to that, it's real hard to take on 300 million people. So if people will just stand up, we can avert anything like that happening. We can fix it. We can do it without violence. We can do it peacefully.